I would like now to open for questions. Yes, please.
Hi, thanks so much. Thanks for your presentations. I know how difficult it is to speak about these topics. So again, the presentation started about the conflict, and I always feel like it's really, terminology is really important, and I see Palestinians and others time and again calling this a conflict instead of looking at this structural system of inequality and replacement in terms of illegal occupation annexation. I know we need to deal with the situation in terms of our daily lives, but I'm wondering why that's happening, if you have any reflections on that. And then to the first speaker, you spoke about opening spaces such as gyms, etc., recreational areas for young males specifically. Why not women? Are they no longer taking part in defending their spaces to the onslaught of violence? And to the second speaker, there was a lot of talk about civil society getting together, but of course we're all very privileged here, and I'm wondering about places like Silwan, the City of David, those communities. How can they actually participate in civil society activities when there's so much suspicion? And lastly, there was talk about treatment in terms of stone throwing. What would you say if someone perhaps asked, is that a pacification program? I mean, what are people supposed to do when they're being thrown out of their houses? And how does that help if the structure remains in place? Thank you very much.
Please, maybe Nimati, would you like to answer the first question?
Regarding the open spaces,
Yeah, sure.
Regarding open spaces, thank you for your question. Actually, it was related to women. It was suggested by them, but the reason was not that they did not consider, having open spaces for women. It was actually in order, like when you open those gyms and those activities, it doesn't make it. It makes it easier for women to actually go out. So that was the main reason why they wanted it. They wanted those open spaces so that, first of all, it's so they're gonna also talk about it in the gender section of the policy paper, but it was not. They did not ignore the women. They actually wanted it to help the women and support women. Okay, and then I think Professor Badi can.
Yes, Professor, would you like?
Sure. As for the comment on the civil society, I agree. It's it's an activity of, you call them the privileged, right? But the organized and usually. But I think that if you mobilize leaders in those communities, they can bring in the weak inside to this activity. We saw it in our program that, of course, you start when you speak about civil society, speaking about leaders in the community, of course. But this is the proxy that when you can bring the less power into the process, mostly as giving them the care and the help that they need. And now, as for the program, well, this was tricky, because it was when they came to me with the project, and I said, man, this sounds like a trouble, dealing with stone throwing. But when we analyzed the statistics, and I did this very carefully, and my colleague was already doing a lot of surveys among youth, and the guy in the prosecution also, we saw the data. You'd be surprised that the majority of cases of stone throwing are by kids and youth, that they are doing it not because they are, want to liberate Palestine, but rather from a lot of free time, influence of peers, stress of peers, I would say. And we saw that in the process when there was a prosecution. You would expect, if this is a nationalist action, by 14 or sometime 7 years old, right, act, you expect there to be, this is like the political moment, right? But most of those cases, like, tragic. You see in the court case, people crying and the family saying, begging for mercy. So that's why the guy from prosecution said this is not right. Most of these cases are welfare cases. Most of these cases are kids that have too much free time that we have to occupy. So this is my take. Of course, there is another number of recidivists, hardcore people that, and also among the recidivists, those who are been 3 times already in jail for stone throwing, we saw that also they are open for rehabilitation.
Yeah, maybe we have just the time for 2 more questions, maybe.
So thank you very much for your presentations today. I cannot stand. So basically, just to follow up on your point, because look at what's happening in Aisawiya at the moment.
Right.
Aisawiya is a Palestinian village. There is no Israelis who's living there.
Right.
Yet there is constant presence of the police and the military. And that is, I think, one thing that is related to protection, safety, and security. And yet there's constant clashes between the young people and the military or the occupation that shouldn't even be there. They're not protecting anyone. So in that case, it's not an issue of free time anymore.
Right.
And when they go to school during school day and get students outside and they get them to prison from the school day, during the school day, that is not an issue of free time anymore. So I don't know if you're in your project, and that's following up with the question, you're actually doing anything to also deal with the police, with the system itself, or only pacifying the youth?
Well, can I reply?
Yes, yes, sure.
So, can you hear me in the back?
Yeah.
Daniel, אתה שומע אותי? Okay, Daniel is a good guest. So, yeah, we are not naive. We know that the situation is not, we have a lot of security issues that usually involving the police. What police, we say to our student, is a necessity evil, right? Like in a ideal world, police is not good. It's restricting your freedom, right? It's telling you what not to do, right? So, but you do it. You involve police when there's a need to involve the police. The problem is with Arab communities in neighborhood that the police also is not recognized or is not a normal agency, right? That when he gets into to even for the something tiny, something to deal with the electricity, or it could tend to be huge clash between the community and the police. So in that, we didn't deal with Aisawiya, unfortunately. Maybe next would be our next spot. But I can tell you something about the project that we did. So one of the issues was the issue that you raised. When we spoke to the community, they said that when they see the police as the border police. Do you know in Israel there's police, we have the border police. This is the military units, military police that usually deal with the public order, and but they are more militaristic. They're looking. We call them the green. They have green uniform, but they are more likely as police officers, as the army soldiers rather than the police officers. And then we have the blue police, that they are more civil. So in that project, the community said that to us that when someone from the community see a border police getting in, it's like it's big issue. It's suddenly become crazy about like when he see this guy, he see all the occupation, I see all the and they're suggesting what take the green out and give us the blue, and this is what we tell the project: green out, blue in. And in that neighborhood, the police at that localities, from dialogue with the community, they took out all border police, and now it's all blue. It's all blue police. So that changed, as Sami said, they changed the nature of the encounters between the police. Now, that doesn't say that will solve all the problem. But today, getting police officer in neighborhood, it's always about feeling of occupation. It's not giving service, but rather occupy the community. And there is a lot of threat perception. Like a couple of months ago, there was a firework, someone attacking with firework, right? And he was shot dead. Now, I'm not sure that firework incident would be the same reaction in Tel Aviv, right? But because those are different threat perceptions.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I have to apologize. We don't have any more time, so we would have to wrap up probably. I would like just to say that I've seen here, even you were sitting in such a line that it makes sense for me. We started by saying that that we can address the problems from the bottom up, from the normal citizens, people that are just living here, and we can feel in those groups together and seeing we have similar things. But then we go to you, and fear comes in. There is fear, and we have to think of policing. We have to think of government, of the presence of those bodies in the society. And then we come to you, where we see and we heard a beautiful story of what was going on through your eyes, through your experiences. And you spoke about this beautiful project of police and community, in a way you are bringing those two factors together. So I saw this progress of this panel working out very nicely. I strongly encourage all of you to continue talking to our speakers and discussing and sharing ideas, because this is all about dialogue, right? Thank you again, all our speakers, Namati Tahan, Professor Badi Hassisi, and Mr. Sami Douglas. Thank you.